Hi everyone, Eileen back with you again. It's the weekend, so it's Lavinia stamps tutorials for you. One today, Saturday, and another one that I will be doing tomorrow around about the same time to publish, about 2 p.m. in the afternoon, Greenwich Mean Time. This is what I'm going to show you today. It uses the beautiful Indian moth stamp called Indra. And it also features a stencil designed by Tracy Dutton from Sweet Poppy Stencils, which is a poinsettia. Tracy works alongside Lou on occasion, and she designs lots of stencils that are a really great match for using with your Lavinia Stamps cards, and vice versa with your Sweet Poppy Stencils. You can use the Lavinia stamps. Right, by the way, I've mounted this in a cardboard mount that I bought from Amazon because I wanted it as a piece of wall art rather than a card. So let's get going. The topper is 14 centimetres by 14 centimetres, and this is multifarious cardstock, which is 330 GSM from Lavinia Stamps. I've got a piece of copy paper that I've folded in half to protect my card from my fingerprints, oily fingerprints. I'll be using that in a moment or two, but first of all, taking some white gesso that I've put down beside me, and now it's disappeared. I'm sure Basic Supplies, I'm sure that they hide when they know you want to use them. They sort of run away. Anyway, this is heavy gesso. You can use any white gesso that you have to hand, and I'm taking a small amount, just going to move over my project so that you can see how much I'm using. Just spreading it out onto my glass mat. And I've got a makeup sponge and the poinsettia itself. Pop that down. I'm not going to use the magnetic sheet for this because it's going to be quite a quick exercise. Right, so a fair amount of the image in one corner. Take the sponge and move the gesso around on your mat so that you get a nice thin layer, and that's actually crucial, and then dab it through your stencil. And if you want the gesso to be thicker, then do it in layers rather than put too much on in one go. If you get lumps and bumps, that isn't a good look. So you're looking for a very thin layer. It will act as a resist, but you'll get a really well-defined image if you keep it thin and not let it leak under the stencil. So back to the next corner, and I'm just taking a small amount of the image and allowing that to go over the card. So a small layer of gesso on that one, and then to the third corner, and then a bit more than the previous corner, so a bit more of the image, but not as large as the first layer that you put on the first image in the first corner. That sounds a bit of gobbledygook, but I'm sure you know what I mean. So you've got 3 different sizes of the image on your card. Okay. And the other corner you're leaving totally blank. Now I'm going to hold it up to the camera to see if you can see what I've done. The gesso is sort of showing up in a creamish. So I've got a large image here, and then a smaller one here, and an even smaller one there, and that corner's blank. I'll let the camera pick up on that. Right. So cleaning up my workspace with a damp cloth, stencil straight into water and only use a brush to clean the stencil with. As it's stainless steel, it's really sharp like a knife, so be careful. Blood all over your cards is sort of not a good look, I've found. Right, so all clean again. Let's check that I'm in shot. Yeah, it's not bad. Sorry about the shadows. I've had to put the light on here, and it's casting shadows whenever I get up and down to have a nose to see what you can see. Right, that should be dry with me waffling. It is. Distress ink, squeeze lemonade, peacock feathers, picked raspberry. I'm using those with some brushes. Now this will give me a subtle look. If you want a more defined, heavier inked look with more depth to the colours, then use your blending tools. They give you a totally different look. It's the way they're applied, I think, onto the blending tools themselves. You're giving them more welly, you're giving them more pressure. You don't get the same amount of pressure with these brushes, so consequently the colours that you put on are more subtle. And if you really want to add more depth, then you need to apply more layers with these. But I just want something quite ethereal. That's the aim anyway. So I'm just going to use my brush very gently. Squeeze lemonade is first. And then just a circular motion. Take off the first spot or two of ink because this pad is quite new, but being squeezed lemonade, it's sort of a lighter colour, so it won't overpower the others. And I'm going over the whole card, not just the gessoed areas, but I'm not looking for an all over blend, just pockets of round circular motion with the brush and just pockets of ink layers so that you get some white space left here and there. Right, so that's the yellow. Now I want to leave some parts of this image yellow. I don't want to cover it all now with picked raspberry and peacock feathers because you'll just get mud if you keep layering up. So I want to blend, but I want to also see some of the yellow left to itself so that it shines through with its own identity. So here's picked raspberry, and again light pressure. Wrist action is very loose here. I'm not putting any pressure on at all. Circular motion all over the card again, picking it up off the pad, taking off the first couple of bits of ink, otherwise you get, excuse me, otherwise you'll get a sort of a clumpy look, splodges. You don't want that. Bit more pressure now at the ink's worn off, so that I'm just allowing the brushes to give up all the rest of the ink that's on the bristles. So a bit more pressure, heavier, bit more down here, bit more pink, but again allow that yellow to shine through as well. Don't cover all of it. Now I'm going for the blue peacock feathers. This is quite an inky pad, and it's quite a dark colour, so be careful. So I would like some mauvey purple where it mixes with the pink, and then on its own, and some green tones when it mixes with the yellow of the squeezed lemonade. Bit of a splodge there, so I'm going back to yellow to see if I can get rid of some of that. Yeah, turned it back into green, so that's not too bad. If you're quick, you can usually get a good blend. And of course, more ink on means that the depth of colour is stronger. So lots of blue, a bit more over here. So you can see the blue, you can see the pink, and you can see my inky finger marks. And you can see the yellow. Going back to the yellow again, I've got an inky finger mark there. Very quickly, yeah, that's gone. And a bit more here, just to give the yellow back. And I think that will do me. Yeah, I'm quite happy with that. So popping the lids back on. Now take your damp cloth and make sure it is damp and not wet. Take your damp cloth and then you're going to remove some of the colour of the ink from these gessoed flowers. And if you go out, which I am, of your image lines, it doesn't matter. Just remove the ink from that flower so that you make it white again and pop. This is where the gesso is acting as a resist to the ink to allow you to do that. And as I've said, if you go outside, it doesn't matter. If you get a few streaks and lines, it doesn't matter, it just adds to it. Now, you will need a heat gun now, because it is quite wet, the cardstock, and I want to dry it off. Because I'm going to stamp, and you won't be able to stamp if the ink is too wet or the cardstock is too wet. That's better. That's good. Right, on to the next bit. You need to decide where it is you're going to put your image, and I think that I'm going to have the image down here where I've got a lot of space. So I'm using a Misty, and the main image is going on now. I've got some magnets on the back of my Misty. Take those off. Over we go. Now I'm not going to put it in this corner because I'm only stamping part of the design of the stamp. So I want to be able to stamp off of the card. So I want to, I'm going to be stamping around the other way in landscape, not in portrait, like so. So I'm stamping it here, but of course some of the stamp will be over here. Right, I'm going to pop that underneath. That will protect the grid paper that I've got under there. A beautiful stamp. So this is where I'm going to pop it. It needs to go up now, going up to the edge. It won't fit in down there, like so. Pop that on. Around about, what did I have the antenna? Yeah, I didn't have all of them. I used about, it was around about there, I think, like so. Yeah, I think that will do. Down, pick it up. Try not to move the card too much. And I'm using VersaFine Claire Onyx, Nocturne. Gentle tapping, pouncing it. And then that way it goes onto the image, but because you're pouncing it so lightly, you don't get the ink going out all over the other polymer surrounding your image. To make sure that the middle is well inked. It's a big stamp, take your time. And make sure your ink pad is fairly new or it's re-inked. Okay, over we go, turning it round, down. Press, I'm standing up. I think you will have noticed that as the inks are drying the card into the card, they are getting more vivid. That happens with distress inks. They sort of release their colour as they dry. Very pretty. Pretty shades. Right, I think that we're okay. Yes, lovely image. Let me move this out of the way. Like so. Bring that back into shot. Just check you are seeing this. You are. That's good. I've got one spot there, which is I've got something on my stamp that I didn't clean off properly. That's no problem. Polychromos black. Just pop that in, like so. I'm going to do another bit of stamping now, and that is Fairy Wishes and Angel Kisses. Now I need my other stamp mat. Which is this one. I never stamp without a stamp mat or platform because I need a soft pressure to get a really good result. Stamping on a hard surface, I don't really get good results all the time, whereas with these, with a nice soft surface there, firm, but it gives. It's not squashy soft. Fairy Wishes and Angel Kisses. I'm just going to pop it in there. Let the ink soak in, gently holding it. And then down and up. That's lovely. On to the final pieces now. One more stamp to do, and it's this one. Beautiful text. I think this is called Sacred Spells. In fact, I'm sure it is, because it's one of my favourites, because I just love the font, and the words are a bonus, of course. But the font is beautiful, delicate. I've inked up with VersaFine Claire Warm Breeze. Make sure the stamp is up the right way, because I have done that before, and I'm sure you may have done as well. First, ink off, so I'm using second generation, starting at the top, pressing quite heavily, and then over again, and then down the card, different widths of the stamp. Oh, that's the ferret climbing around and pushing over my boxes. Are you all right, Eric? Yes, he's okay. Right, and then down onto this one. He's looking for smoothest He's mad for smoothies. He's got a latex fetish, I think, but we won't go there. Right, I've not re-inked this, as you can see, but different pressure. It's giving me more bits of the font, of the text of the stamp coming out. I'm really happy with that. So I'll leave it there. Now, the next bit is a favourite. I've discovered this whilst I was making this card. I used one of these gold sparkly pens from Uniball, and I bought these. I buy them in boxes of 12, like as I do my white pigment inks of the same brand. And this is a gold sparkle pen, and I buy them from Cult Pens in the UK. Uniball Signio. Gorgeous. Now, I discovered, because by accident, when I added some gold to this main body of the moth, not all over, you can go all over if you want, but I'm just going to do this side of the image right the way down the left hand side. I don't want a straight line down though, so just sort of going to feather it as it comes out, and then a bit more down here, going a bit wider across, and a bit here going across even further, and then this one going across even further still, and then finally the last part of the body of the moth. Still not going right over to the right hand side though, I'm still just going to stay on the left, but giving more gold to it, covering more areas with the gold, but not right across, like so. Now, I did this initially because I missed some of the black, and I thought, oh, couldn't find my black pencil, so I used this gold, and I thought, oh, well, that looks nice. Then I applied glossy accents, and it soothes out that gold, and it gives you a real sparkle. Look, go up. So this is with glossy accents on it. Isn't that cool? I thought it was really good. So I thought, oh, do that again, Eileen. Yes, indeed. There, look, I'm getting really carried away now. Yeah, I thought that was really pretty. So I'm going to try it again. I've got loads of these sparkly pens. There's pink, blue, silver. Well, if you've got one, you've got to get them all. And consequently, I'm going to have another go at that. But before I put the glossy accents on, which will be the last thing I do with this, I just want the gold pen to go round very roughly, and I mean roughly, around all of the leaves of this poinsettia. So let's get this done. Okay. I'm not being too careful, just outlining the natural lines of a flower. And if you miss a bit, you miss a bit, you know. Okay. And there. It's just to bring it forward a little bit. And then there's this one. Put it down a bit so you can see a bit better. Thought it was going to rain hard today, but it doesn't look too bad. It's brightening up a little bit out there now. Got lots of crafting to do today. So lucky when you're in lockdown and you've got such a great hobby, isn't it? Okay, I don't know what I'd do without my crafty stuff these days. Days fly by and I'm enjoying myself. Haven't seen my family, so that's a bit gutting, but other than that, I can't complain really. Right, so I've done all of the outline of flowers, and now for the final bits. Here is the Pentart pearl pen. You can use any pearl drops as long as they're dimensional, and I'm just going to do the tiny amounts in the middle of my poinsettia flower. Don't want it to be too heavy. Don't shake this stuff. It's like glossy accents. You mustn't shake it. Get air bubbles in it. Got another couple there. 1, 2, 3. Just a couple there. So that's that. And then finally, is this glossy accents. Oh, I've just noticed I've got a bit missing here from my tail, or the bottom of the image. I'm just going to very quickly pop that in. It's not as good as Tracy's image in originally, but anyway, that will do. I did honestly miss that. I didn't notice it, otherwise I would have stamped it twice, but I will go over it with a pencil and define that a little bit more. But you know what I'm doing there and what you're doing, so I'll go on with this and then do that later. So just in an upright position with your glossy accents, and then just popping this down. It's self-leveling, so it will find its own way. And then it will look a little bit cloudy blue for a while, and then it dries very clear, and it will make that gold pen really sparkle. And it's a sort of I've not seen this on anyone else's card before, so I should imagine I'm not the first, but I really love it, so I'm going to do it again. Right, okay. There we go. There we are. Don't want to create any air pockets with this stuff. Make sure you take your time and you get it all covered. No bits missing. I'll pop a little bit more out and it sort of will self-level on. Now that is already making the gold sparkle. I don't know if it moves the ink, but it certainly blends it a little. It's really nice. So that's it for today. Just going to show you the one that I've just completed, the one that I did earlier on, which is dry, so obviously it's nice and clear. But when you get the mount, you will pop it over the top so that the image, the main image, the whole thing will be slightly smaller, because the mount will take up some of your outer edges, like so. But I really enjoyed doing that. I hope you enjoyed watching. Have a great Saturday. Thanks ever so much for your time. Bye for now.